Hey, it is Jay, and I'm in the workshop today for a dice experiment. I got my hands on brass powder, learned about cold casting metal, which sounded amazing because who in their life hasn't wanted to work a forge and work metal and make something cool? So I looked up cold casting metal, and it turns out you just mix a bunch of metal powder with resin. I thought it was going to be way more cool, put it in the oven and no, it's just the same thing I'm doing, but with metal powder. The big thing is I did try it once before. It came out looking like baby poop, which was not my most exciting D20 I ever made. The brass powder looks like baby poop, so that's kind of where the color comes from. And frankly, I just didn't put enough in there. I'm used to using mica powders, which a little goes a long way, and you get a good color out of that. But we're not trying to make something brass colored. We're trying to make something brass. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and let's see how it goes. Wow. Here we have our D20 mold, and the clear resin is already cured and hard inside there. And this is the brass powder we're going to be using today. So it should have a clear top on the D20 from the resin we already poured in there. And now we just have to mix this brown powder into this resin. Now, I do believe that it's recommended after the resin cures that you kind of go over your piece with a piece of steel wool to bring out those brass highlights. But I just wanted to see how much of the powder the resin would take. And it slowly becomes this thick, muddy, almost henna-like consistency. I pour it in, and at that point it's just a matter of filling it up, getting the lid on, and kind of hoping for the best. The best is not exactly what we got. There were a lot of defacings on the one side there, and you can see that the lip on the one face is quite pronounced. It appears I had some collapsing, some sinkage in it, which I'm not surprised that it trapped a lot of air. But here we go straight to the weight, a regular D20, 1.7 ounces, and then this mostly brass one, 4.2. So definitely we got the brass powder in there. And you can see once I've ground off that lip that there are a lot of bubbles. So I think that's what happened. We basically went into the pressure pot and it collapsed it. But that's not going to stop us from painting it up today. And I decided on a beautiful shiny copper paint, even though the brass itself does not come out shiny in the brass sense. It certainly comes out shiny in the resin sense because the mold is that way. But just that very satisfying shot of using that copper alcohol ink to fill in those numbers. The next step, of course, is to clean it off. And for that, I actually prefer a little bit of mineral spirits on a rag. It takes that excess paint right off, and you can clean it up and have perfectly painted numbers. But first, let me take a moment to talk to you about today's sponsor. It's me. Buy my stuff so I can keep making videos. Yeah, I'm not sponsored by anyone. I'm self-sponsored, which is amazing. So, about the D20. So, it's over here. Oh, yeah. It, as I showed, is heavy. It's also weighted. I actually have the clear resin on the top, which means that the brass part is vastly heavier than the resin part. So, technically it's a weighted dice, but also the bottom is all curved, so it's really just a display piece at this point. And in typical me fashion, I of course woefully overestimated how much I would need to make a single die and had a whole lot left. So we've also got a handful of brass meeples that are going to get turned into keychains, I think. Somehow. And then also, speaking of weighted dice, I did end up filling up a mold I had half full, and now we have these half black resin, half brass dice. But again, same problem as the D20, they're going to be very weighted because the brass is heavier. Now the brass is on the one side, so technically they are weighted in a good direction. It should roll high most of the time.
And I did test it, and it did roll high most of the time. I don't. They actually turned out kind of cute, even with the baby poop color. Turns out if you match baby poop with black, it becomes quite chic. So, if you want to see more of this content, I feel like I'm obliged to tell you to like, to subscribe, to hit the little bell so that you get notified when I have new videos. I'm attempting to do a video every Friday, and we'll hopefully get that rolling and stick to it. So, but in the meantime, I need you to take your meds because I want to see you back here next time I upload a video. And honestly, if we make nothing else besides baby poop dice, let's make it a great day, all right? Peace.